Jason Loucks here, founder of SecretLender.com, and today I'm going to talk very, very specifically about some mindset stuff. I'm going to show you absolute proof that you can get in this business and be successful, all right? Before I jump right in on that, if you want a 21-minute walkthrough video, just free to have, no obligation or anything like that, just a video I have available on the web that kind of gives you a deeper dive into this stuff, kind of gives you the framework of how you get started, how you fund your deals, how you sell them for upfront cash profits, cash flow, all that other good stuff that we as real estate investors get. That is available for you right now at SecretLender.com. If somebody who heard me say that clearly could just go ahead and write it in the comments, that'd be super awesome. Of course, I'll try to put it in the comments, but probably I'll forget. Anyway, neither here nor there. If you want that video, if you want to see how we do what we do, it's there for you. So go ahead and check that out. Here's one problem that I see a lot of people have is they have this idea that they say, I'll believe it when I see it. And I'm a big fan of having proof, and I'm a big fan of accurate thinking and being real and all that other good stuff. One of the huge things that happens with people, especially in major life-changing things like a career change, like starting a new business, like getting involved in a business like real estate where thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars we all know on some deals can be made on an individual transaction, is belief-oriented. So I tell everybody, peel back all those layers. Just forget about all the $1 billion this, and this guy's a billionaire, and this fund does this, and millionaire. Okay, all of that is important, and we can get to that. But let's start with the root of belief, because if I can get you to believe it, I can get you to take action. So I've said this before, but when I'm talking to people who are not real estate investors, but they want to be, I tell them that getting your real estate business going is like a 10,000-pound boulder in the middle of an open field, right? And that boulder's been set there. I mean, how long have you worked at your job? A lot of people went to school for 4, 6, 8 years to learn an industry, and then they go out into that industry and they work there for 5, 10, 12, 20 years, and they're so far down that one path in life that it's really, really difficult for them to suddenly just switch gears, suddenly switch mindsets from working by the hour to working, to on a transaction basis. And here's what I'd say. If you can get that boulder that's in the middle of the field, if you can get it up and out of the mud, if you can get it rolling, keeping it rolling is much, much easier, and rolling it faster and faster is even easier, right? In fact, the faster you roll it, the less energy it takes to keep it rolling, right? Things in motion tend to stay in motion. But getting in motion and mentally getting yourself to where you see the opportunities is a little tricky, but let me walk it back. Let me make it simple. Let me make it brain dead simple for you to take action, for you to understand what it's going to take for you to take action. Here's the deal. If you realize that at its very simplest basic form, we take ugly, beat-up junker houses that most of the world, the owner-occupants, not the other investors, but the owner-occupants don't want. We make them beautiful again. We fix the problems. We paint the walls that are dirty. We clean out whatever's broken and put a new one in, all that stuff. We fix them up and we resell them for a profit. I think that's just so fundamentally basic to what we do as real estate investors. It's not all we do. It's not the best way to do it. It's not the fastest way to do it. But if you fundamentally believe that there are people in this world who buy beat up ugly houses, fix them up and resell them for a profit, I think that's the simplest way to wrap your head around this entire industry. It's like saying, what does a doctor do? Well, a doctor meets with people who are sick, figures out what's wrong with them, and tries to help them. It's simple. Everybody gets it, right? And that's how I feel about rehabs. Are there a million different ways to, skin that cat, so to speak, to do a rehab, to buy a house, to fund a deal? Is there a million different approaches to dealing with contractors? Of course there is. And of course, everybody's, who's successful has figured out their way. But from a mindset perspective, if you get this, there are people out there who buy beat-up, ugly junk houses, fix them up and make them nice and new and beautiful again, and sell them for a profit. Don't you think you get that? Okay, don't you think you can do that? I think you can do that. I think you deserve to do that if that's something that would bring you joy, if that's something that makes the world a better place, if that's a better financial opportunity than what you're doing now for your JOB, get on it. What else do you need to know? Go, right? Now here's the key to that. Once you get that, once you believe that, once you see that, and a lot of people say, I'll believe it when I see it. But don't you see that everywhere? Don't you see the We Buy Ugly Houses billboards on the side of the road, on the side of the highway? Don't you see the I Buy Houses bandit signs on the side of the road? Don't you know that there's a multi-billion-dollar foreclosure industry? Don't you know there's a multi-billion-dollar vacant house industry? So you see that. What happens truthfully is you can't see it until you believe it. And once you believe that there are people out there in the world who buy, fix, and sell junk houses, once they fix them up, they sell retail deals, right? Nice, pretty houses. Now it's very simple to say, well, wait a minute. I don't necessarily have all those resources. I don't have the money to buy a house for cash. I don't have the expertise to hire a contractor. I've never been a landlord before. I don't know if I can do it. All of those other things, all of that is true. But listen, once you understand that there are people who buy beat up, ugly junker houses, then they fix them up, then they sell them to owner occupants once they're nice, why don't you be somebody who finds beat up, ugly junker houses for that investor? I know in my business, a good chunk of the deals that I do are brought to me by another investor who found an excellent deal, dealt with a seller, sometimes dealt with an agent, found or, sometimes bought them tax lien sales, again, a zillion ways to do the deal, right? But fundamentally, they find an excellent, dirt cheap, beat up junk house that someone like me, someone who has experience, someone who has the resources to buy the house for cash, then can say, listen, I'll buy the house from you. So without fixing it, without cleaning it, without borrowing money, they make an upfront cash profit. Well, if there's people like me who buy, fix, and sell houses, there has to be people who sell those houses to them at those prices, right? It's just the nature of it. If you believe in rehabs, you believe in wholesale deals. That process is called wholesaling, and I've got students all over the country who get started in real estate by finding excellent deals without down payments, without credit, without borrowing money, without landlording, without all of that stuff, by passing those deals on to a cash buyer like me. A cash buyer in their neighborhood, in their market area, who does buy those deals, right? In fact, if you see those We Buy Ugly Houses signs when you're driving down the highway, they'll buy ugly houses from you too, right? They're more concerned about getting an excellent deal than they are about how much anybody else makes. As long as they're going to make a big profit, they don't really care what your profit is. So I have students all over the country who are finding those excellent, dirt cheap, ugly, beat up junker houses, and without doing anything to them, passing them on. It's just a paperwork shuffle. Remember, this is real estate. We don't have inventory. We don't have products. We don't have a warehouse full of stuff we have to mail to somebody when they buy it. We just change the name on a couple of pieces of paper, and all of a sudden it's somebody else's house. It's a paperwork shuffle and a service we provide for the rehabbers who fix those houses up for us. And once you believe that there are people who buy those beat up ugly junkers, fix them up and sell them for a profit, and you understand there are people who go find those deals and provide them to them in the first place, it only makes logical sense that some of those guys, those beat up ugly junker fixers, right? Some of those guys are not selling the houses out the back end as fast as they possibly can, right? Some of those guys are selling those houses without fixing them. Some of those guys are taking that junk house and they have the resources to fund them. They own them, right? And they're selling those houses via lease option, or they're selling those houses on purchase and rehab loans to buyers who go to FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, USDA, and they borrow the money to fix it and the money to buy it with 3% down or 5% down if it's Fannie or Freddie. And those are owner occupants who, through their own sweat equity, remember that term, it's called sweat equity, they go in, they get the money from Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, USDA to fix the house. They choose their own carpet. They choose their own paint. They choose their own appliances. They choose their own countertops and everything else they want, and they get their house exactly the way they want it, and the loan that they got to buy the house pays for it. And the investor, the guy who we all think in the world, they buy them, fix them up, and then sell them, right? Well, sometimes you buy them, don't fix them up, and then sell them. And then once you understand that you can sell these houses without fixing them first, let me tell you one thing that really happens to us a lot. We'll take a house, an as-is sale house, and I'll put that house up for sale. And, it needs work still, and we're selling it to an owner-occupant. And when that owner-occupant comes into the open house, they fall in love with it. They fall in love with the idea of being able to fix the house to the way they want it, to, exactly the colors and styles. And, they've been watching those shows on TV where they rehab it and remodel an entire house in 22 minutes. And so they're thinking in their head, like, I can get that hardwood floor I just saw, Vanilla Ice put in a house, or whatever. I can get the countertops I just saw on Rehab Addict, or, the zombie house flipping show, or whatever. And I love those guys, and I want to do a house just like that. And they fall in love with that idea, right? And then they go to the mortgage broker, and the mortgage broker says, I'm sorry, according to your income, you can afford it, but, you don't have a big enough down payment. That's one reason. Another reason, he says, well, you have a, big enough down payment, and you have the, good enough credit scores, but you don't have enough depth of credit. In other words, they've got good scores, but they never really borrowed much from anybody. And most of the banks, before they'll make a loan, they want to see that the person's had at least 2 trade lines, meaning they borrowed 2 credit cards, or, a car loan and a credit card or something like that. Some people only have one, right? All they have is a car loan, or all they have is a credit card. And they need a second trade line. Well, the banks have come to us and said, listen, if you let them move into the house, fix it at their own time and at their own expense, and pay you every month while they live there, we'll count the value of the repairs they did as their down payment for purposes of qualifying, and we'll count the money they paid you every month as their second trade line for purposes of qualifying for the loan. So after they get it all fixed up, here's what I always tell everybody. What's the cost of paint compared to the cost of a painter, right? You can buy enough paint to paint an entire building for like a couple $100. You can't even get a painter to show up for a couple $100. They're going to want $1,000, $2,000 at least. Well, the rest is sweat equity. It's the labor. So by fixing the house a little here, a little there over the course of a year, getting it to where it's now in excellent condition and they can get the loan to buy it, the bank will count the value of the repairs they did. Now they've got a big honking down payment. Then on the flip side, the rent they pay to me every month, which we don't ever call it rent. We don't want renters. We want resident buyers who have to fix the house first. So they earn a down payment. They earn that second trade line for purposes of qualifying for the loan. And at the end of the day, the bank will make the loan. They got a big down payment. They move into a house with equity. And guess what we didn't do? We didn't fix a house. We didn't make payments on a vacant house. We didn't make a bunch of electric bill payments, a bunch of water bill payments. We didn't have to pay somebody to mow the lawn. We didn't have to pay for all the maintenance and electricity. Look, if they move into a beat-up, ugly house, we don't fix light bulbs, right? Their whole fixture's got to go, and they know it when they move in, and obviously we're not pulling one over on anybody. We tell them. But most people would love to fix a house and get to keep the equity for themselves. It's like playing with house money. So that process is called a sweat equity lease option. So if you start from the nugget of belief, once you believe it, then you can see it. And that's how life works. It's not the other way around. People say, I'll see it, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, you've seen it a million times. You've driven past that We Buy Ugly Houses sign a million times. You've seen the sign on the side of the road that says, I buy houses for cash a million times. How many times did you ever think to yourself, I should sell one to that guy? You've seen it, but you didn't believe it, right? But now that you believe it, now you'll see it. And now you'll see that there's guys like me all over the country who will be happy to buy your deal from you. You make a little bit of money because you didn't do a lot of work, so you're not going to make as much as the rehabber, but you're going to make that money without having to quit your JOB, without having to go get a big track record in real estate, without having to borrow a bunch of money, without having to do a bunch of repairs. And then once you get those upfront profits, you get a couple of those upfront profit checks, it's going to be a tough Monday morning when you go into the job next and say, you're going to pay me how much? And I just made, right? I just made $15,000 in 2 weeks and you want to pay me $25 an hour? I don't think I can afford to work here anymore. Then it's an easy decision. Remember, once you believe it, then you'll see it. Once you see it, you do it. Once you do it once, you do it again, and you build a system to do it over and over again. And before you know it, you've got people who are saying, listen, can you use my money? I would love to get my money out and working in a safe investment that's called private lenders, right? You've got people saying, hey, you got anything I could buy? I'd love to fix a house too. People who want to buy a house because they want to fix it, because they want it to be exactly what they want, and they want to walk into some equity when they buy it. You're going to have people who say, hey, I can't quite qualify, but I'm close. Can you help me? It all starts from believing it. Once you believe it, then you'll see it. Once you see it, then you'll do it. Once you do it, you got that rock up and out of the mud. You got it rolling across the open field, and it's really, really easy to just roll it faster and faster and faster, all right? So if you believe that there are people out there who buy, fix, and resell houses, that's all you need to know to understand the entire cash business. If you want the specifics, if you want the framework for how we do it, if you want the specific do this, then do that, you're in luck. I got a 21-minute video. You can watch it at secretlender.com. It'll lay out for you exactly where to get the money you need without hard money lenders and all, the rigmarole of banks and all that junk. What to do, how to get deals and flip them without funding them, how to maximize your profits on the ones you choose to borrow money on, and basically step by step through the process I just laid out for you. Again, that's secretlender.com. If you like these kind of videos, if you think you know somebody who needs to believe it so that they can see it, right, go ahead and share this with them. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them down below. In fact, if somebody would put secretlender.com down below, that would be awesome, because I'll probably forget, to be honest with you. If you've got any questions about what I just talked about, go ahead and watch that video first. If you watch that video and still have questions, come on back. Go ahead and put them in the comments below. If I see the same questions over and over again, I'll do a video on it if it helps, or I'll just answer them right in the comments if it's a simple kind of thing. Again, I'm Jason Loucks from secretlender.com. Go ahead and check out that video, also at secretlender.com, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks very much.